There you are. You wake up, you feel amazing, you've just done something, and then you start thinking to yourself, what else can I do the next day, the day after, in the week, and in a month? Because you really enjoy the feeling and what it gives you. What do I mean by this? Well, let me start simply from the beginning. So, my name's Salvatore. I'm a 9 to 5 office worker. I'm not particularly anything special. I simply have dreams of lacing up my running shoes and crossing the finish line faster than I ever thought possible. I like to ride my bike to work for freedom to save money and also kind of conquer mountains, as well as, conquering going to the grocery store and kind of loading my bag up with groceries and, riding home. But what I'm going to share with you today is kind of how to become addicted to fitness. And I'll kind of take you through where I was at and kind of explain what kind of steps we have to do to achieve this. So, how this all starts, or how I think it kind of started for me, is we need to think at the start of this, we're like at the tutorial level of a video game. And what happens when we're in the tutorial level? It's a really nice place, environment, it's really bright, the music's really welcoming, the level's quite easy, the instructions are very clear. What we have to do is quite, like, it's difficult. It's not that difficult, so it's quite straightforward. And then kind of taking this, what happens from that is that the initial couple levels, you get experience, and then of course you get up levels really, really quickly. So it kind of motivates you to want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and you kind of like develop a little bit of an addiction, which is kind of what I want to show you, how you can shift away from that and kind of channel that same mentality and thinking into something like, fitness and working out. So for me, I'm going to share the case of running. So what happened was, if we go back 4 or 5 years ago, I thought to myself, well, why don't I, or how about we try to get better at running 5Ks? And I had a goal of getting under 20 minutes and I achieved it. But the problem with this is, after achieving that goal, that was it. Like, I didn't really kind of push much further, and I kind of wish I had. Like, I rode my bike as well to kind of build fitness for around that time, but the running was kind of something that stopped, and I'm kind of a bit like disappointed about that. But that's not what I'm trying to super like get at. What I'm trying to get at was, I kind of recently wanted to start running again, and I was like kind of ashamed of getting back into it. And I'd always say like, oh, I'll just run after work. But what would happen after work is you get home, you're hungry, you've got no energy, you're quite tired from the day, or you get back later than you think. So you're quite unlikely to run after work. And that's kind of the excuse I gave myself. But then I needed to remember that, like, when we start running again, or start something for the first time, we need to think of it as being in the tutorial level. So as part of a tutorial level, of what I would suggest you, if you wanted to get into running, is to set up a Strava account. It's free. It tracks your progress. So you can kind of see your very first run to your most recent run. And it's really cool community. If you start an account, send me a follow, and then I'll give you a thumbs up for your first run. It's called a kudos. So that kind of like, it frames you and kind of gives you that confidence of like almost feeling like you are the video game character, in terms of like, by going on those runs and having something to record it and kind of acknowledge kind of how that builds, and it kind of says how much distance you do. But the point is, like, I was able to kind of, that's what I kind of wanted to get back into. But the thing is, I kind of had to frame making running more accessible for me, which is kind of where I want to share my first secret of how to frame the kind of run and like getting set up. So what I had realized was, well, why don't I just run first thing in the morning? Because if I eat a big meal the night before, which is what you should be doing, you have enough energy because you've digested the food. It's first thing in the morning, so you don't have any work, so you can kind of, go at it, get up early. The day's not too loud and busy, and you can kind of get a jump start and you get extra energy. But the thing is, like, it was quite cold, so I didn't really have a lot of running clothes. So what I did is I invested in one of these, basically, these quarter zips, where they're fleeced on the inside and they really, really make it easy to run when it's really cold. And because you kind of adjust the zip in terms of like temperature regulation, and they're quite comfortable and they make me feel like a runner. So it's kind of like, getting me excited to go on that, which is really, really fun. So there was kind of that point, but also music was something really important and integral to me in terms of being able to run. And I kind of want to share a secret with you about kind of what I would listen to and kind of how it kind of framed where I'm trying to get at. And basically, like, the issue is, like, we've got the addiction of like wanting to play the video game, right? But what I'm trying to get at is, or what I'm about to share, is that we want to kind of leverage that in a way to transition it over to fuel it into, to literally convert it into fuel for the running. So what do I mean by this? So your first step now is to, if you want to like get into running, think of a video game that you used to play or really enjoy, and then think of that music. And then when you go for that run, play that music, and then you'll kind of feel like the nostalgia of it, and it will feel quite comforting. It'll almost feel like, even though you're running, which is quite a scary thing, it'll feel like you're in the tutorial level, and it will feel a lot easier and a lot more fun. And kind of what I mean by this is, kind of recently I was quite busy at work and I was quite stressed out. So I kind of took a little bit of like a couple week break from running, and I was kind of ashamed to go back into it. So what I had done was I put my favorite music, like from one of the games I liked as a kid, which was The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, and basically kind of putting that music on and running again made it feel like I was in the in the game, and I was kind of like exploring for the first time again. And I kind of like made it so getting to that point and actually getting to the run and enjoying it kind of helped me to get over that barrier or mental block that I had, that I haven't ran in a while, or I don't know about starting this. It kind of got me to that point and really got me to enjoy it, which is really, really cool. And then like, so there's that in terms of using it to get you started. But then also the benefit of actually using the music is something really important that I want to share with you now. It's the idea of getting in the zone. Now, what do I mean by this? You see, the thing is, the other day, on Wednesday, I had participated in the first round of the Corporate Cup, and I was really nervous. Like, I was a bit jittery, my heart was going really quick, and I knew I'd have to do this run, and I knew it would be pretty fast, 4.5 Ks, there'd be a lot of people, so I was nervous. But I had this trick, this little secret. So leveraging off what we've just said, I thought back to one of my favorite video games as a kid, the Final Fantasy series, which I'd played lots and lots and lots. So kind of shifting from sinking a lot of hours into that and sinking time to running, I played that music. And as soon as, or kind of what I did is I looked up a playlist on Spotify that had, that type of music in it. And then I looked at the song list, and I looked where there was about 4 or 5 songs that I really liked in a row. And then when I found it, I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, I knew in my mind. And then when I played that and kind of put the ear pods in and went to the starting line, I was completely in a different like world, and I was kind of, that nostalgia and that wave rushed over me, and I was able to concentrate and focus, and I was in the zone. So what is the zone? It's like a sense of flow. Athletes describe it as like a oneness with the sport. Like, you do something, you don't realize how much time's passed. It's something that it's not super easy, but it's not super hard either. It's somewhere, I mean, it's hard, but basically the point is it's a challenge. And in that challenge, obviously there's going to be situations where, for example, when you're running at that speed, your body's going to tell you, are you sure you want to do this? Let's do something else. Let's stop. But by listening to that music and calming the brain, it kind of lets you focus on simply the awareness of the running and pushing yourself, while really leveraging and enjoying the music that's playing to kind of transport you to almost switch off the self-limiting brain and really harness that deeper level within you, that sense of zone, which I kind of want you to experience. And I want to share this video with you at all about how to kind of transition into getting addicted. Because then once you're in that flow state and you do that for the run, you want to do that again and again and again, which is kind of like how you leverage and get into being addicted to fitness, which is kind of where it gets to the next point. So having completed that, I was like super excited for doing the next round of this. And then I was like more motivated to like, okay, well, what's, a proper way to train so I can continue to, train in such a way that's really good, but then I don't risk getting injured. So by that, I was already thinking like a little bit ahead, like, what about in a couple of days, we do a indoor bike workout, which means I can go really, really hard without the risk of injuring myself. And then also like having discovered recently like resistance bands and getting ChatGPT to develop a push-pull routine has been really fun to kind of balance the expectation that I don't have to run every day, because obviously it takes time to build up your body. So you've kind of got the slower runs and it kind of builds more faith in you that you can kind of experience other types of physical activities, such as the benefit and the endorphins of working out. And by putting, again, the Final Fantasy music on while doing the resistance band workout that ChatGPT tells me how to do, I'm able to have a sense of flow again, where I'm able to really experience the workout and, you know, the self-awareness for my muscles to really excel and kind of push my body in a really, you know, positive way to increase the rep count in terms of the repetitions of the movement, to increase the resistance on the band, so it's more of a burden for my muscles so they get stronger. So that type of way to leverage the nostalgia from those video games is effectively kind of what we're trying to do. And if I could kind of think of this addiction as a whole, and kind of you get to a point where you want to plan out your week to do lots of stuff to, you know, continue to feel amazing through this, is, I guess I could think of the best way to explain this. You want to crush everything or do everything really well and keep doing stuff consistently. You want to show up. The best way to explain what I mean by this is I'll think back to one of my favorite games, which is Final Fantasy X. In this game, every single enemy, every single boss you encounter can be killed one of two ways. It can be killed in a normal way where it runs out of HP. But if you kind of defeat it with a very big strike at the end, you effectively, if you do enough damage, you do what's called an overkill. And in this overkill, you get like almost double the experience and double the money and double the rewards. So that's kind of like what I want to share with you, like why you can start thinking about what other ways can you implement cross-train, can you build discipline by not necessarily running every race super fast, but also by running it in a very controlled, disciplined way. So it's like you're overkilling it because you keep building and building and building. Or you leverage and kind of go to something that is cross-training, so like riding a bike really hard in a controlled manner, so you can have the benefit of kind of feeling like you overkill that workout. So then when you come back to the running race, like whether it's once a week or kind of, at a very intermittent point, like it's not every day, you have the benefits to like run really fast at that point in time, which is kind of like why I'm sharing how you'll get to a point, or by doing this, you'll get to a point where you actually get really excited to do what you need to do. So it kind of takes you away from being as, say, dependent or addicted to video games, but replacing it with something more that you can strive to long term in real life. You become almost like the video game character by having a Strava account, building consistency in your running, by seeing the speed you get faster or distance you can cover longer. You can literally see your character, your profile like level up. It feels like pretty amazing, and you can kind of get the sense that you can kind of sense where your like stats are and attributes and where your weaknesses are and what to train, and how you decide, okay, we might do some strength work as well, so you kind of round yourself up to build a body or a physique that you like as well. So you can kind of start to see how these elements all come together to transition you away from effectively playing the character, seeing the benefits of them progressing, but actually not having any difference to your life. But in this situation, by applying this discipline to yourself and leveraging off the nostalgia of those games and comfort, you can remember that you're framing yourself for that, being in that tutorial level, and actually building up over time and getting that experience, getting the overkills, planning out your week, planning out your month, and having those goals that you just keep building and seeing yourself progress and level up. At the start of these runs, you'll get lots of experience really quickly, and that will fuel you to want to keep going. Much like, the start of a video game. So that's kind of why, once you, I guess, conquer the mountain and conquer life, you can start to see how you want to conquer it again and again and again. And then that sort of translates to conquering more aspects of your life itself. So as always, conquer mountains, conquer life.